Hello everyone. Thanks for staying with us until the very last session of this great event, and welcome to our talk. So, who are we?
I'm a consultant. I make money. I work for a company that works for a company that works for a company that does an open source operative system. And I do documentation for that operative system. So, yes, NDAs are fun.
You can guess things. My name is Daniele. I'm another freelancer working not for the same company. Doesn't connect on anything. I like to work on things that I used to say are difficult to sell to clients. So, wearables, automotive, TVs, so all the fun stuff, but yeah.
Hello, my name is Aurelio. I am application security engineering at Cognizant, and I love develop applications and do some things that I'm not comfortable with, like speaking in this talk.
It's gonna be great.
Thank you. Everything is fine. Don't worry. So, how the thing started? So we want to build apps all the time. Not I do documentation, and I'm not building enough stuff. So at some point I was like, okay, I want to build more apps because I have pet projects, but I also have a kid and a dog, a mortgage, very little time. So I was like, what we can do is involve other nerds. So we had a chat a few months ago, and I was like, okay, we want to build things. We want to try generative AI. Generative AI, chat AI. So the idea is that then I'm going to clip the recording and I do like a Sundar AI, generative AI. So I'm going to say it a lot. And we wanted to learn things that we don't do at work, like Jetpack Compose and that other stuff. And so we started building things. And the first thing that we built
was a beautiful app. I mean, look at those screenshots. As the name suggested, our first application was an app that had the objective of making available beautifully AI-generated images to users so that they could use on their devices to actually change the wallpaper, for example. The images were not created inside the app, just to be clear. One of our friends is really into generative AI, so it used Mid-Journey, according to the next slide, to create these wallpapers, and then we were basically showing them in the app, allowing the user to actually install it. So the idea was to target users that are eager to customize their device. We know that both Android and other mobile operating systems are very pushing to make each device unique to the user. So we are thinking, okay, one of the core things that the user likes to change are wallpapers. So that could be a market for that. We focused on Android for a few small reasons. First one being that we all work mainly with Android, so we know a lot about how to build quickly an Android application, and quickly is what we wanted, to have a quick iteration between idea and going to the market. So we didn't want to spend too much time learning cross-platform or other operating system way of building apps. But also, there is also another small detail, the fact that for this use case, iOS doesn't allow users to doesn't allow application to set programmatically a wallpaper. So it was not really working for us. So, I mean, we are a developer conference, so we are not going to go into detail on how we build the app, but we built it and we shipped it, actually. And somebody in the room, yeah?
Also, the icon was AI generated.
Of course.
And the description on the Play Store and everything is generated by the AI.
Yeah, of course. And somebody here in the room will be pleased to notice that the app was perfectly working on large screens as well. So responsive layout, window size classes, all that thing, we did it beautifully.
To make Roberto happy.
Exactly, of course, to make Roberto happy. Something that we didn't mention is when we started this one. It was around spring, I think. So we were all proud. We shipped the app on the Play Store. And then a couple of weeks later, Google I/O arrived. And they announced this new beautiful feature in Android 14 where user could generate on the device AI-generated wallpapers. So great, we had a great idea.
So they validated our business idea. They
Yes.
didn't acquire our startup,
Unfortunately, unfortunately not. And we were pretty sad to understand that we might have lost, let's say, 1% of the users because it was only working for Android 14. So for a couple of years, we are safe. So no problem given the adoption.
So numbers. So the idea was, let's start with organic growth. The organic growth is a fancy way to say, basically, I'm going to talk to my family and friends and install the app. And also social. So you can see that at the beginning, the whole thing works smoothly. You get a nice bell curve, as you would expect. People start installing the app. And that's a bell curve. That's the way it is, right? The whole thing stops very quickly, and we were like, okay, we want to work on growth, and ads-driven growth. It was something that I was interested, and we ended up throwing money at Google Ads, as you will imagine. So the budget was 100 euros. I set up the campaign according to Google, according to how much we pay for user acquisition, some interesting or optimized budget for a daily campaign is basically, it was 12 euros. I go along, I was like, okay, let's allocate 12 euros. They are gonna spend on average 12 euros per day, as they go. And then we just launched it. We didn't know better. I just launched the campaign. A couple of days in, we start seeing numbers growing. And I was like, wow, this thing is working. I mean, look at those numbers, GIFs. But the thing is that, you just get very excited about the numbers. And then you start looking at things, right? And I say, okay, let's look at the campaign. So we spend 105 euros, so it was okay. So the budget was in line. We get like a gazillion clicks and impressions. The thing was like, wow, this is very cool. I mean, it works. We gain like 1,500 users in like a very fast time frame.
Just a few days.
Yeah, it was like boom. But then you also spotted some crash because now you have like a gazillion users, and then people have weird phones that we will never be able to buy, and the app is crashing on some random Xiaomi, and you're like, cool, life's real, right? The problem was mainly the fact that we ran out of money in like 30 hours because Google kept suggesting you should increase your budget because, right, that's how they do it, right? Give me more money, I'm gonna give you more users, and you don't know better. And I was like, yeah, sure. I mean, we agreed about $12. You're losing a lot of users, even. You should increase the budget. And I was like, okay, let's increase the budget. They just burned through the whole campaign in like 30 hours. I was like, okay, we ran out of money. Now look at the numbers. Yeah. So the idea was like, okay, now the campaign is over. We got like a lot of users. What now? The curve that you see is the organic decrease of users. So the moment you stop throwing money at the thing, you just start losing users. But on the positive side, there is that we are done. So the app is working. It's on the Play Store. There's basically zero maintenance. I also checked that it works with Android 14. I just changed one of the wallpaper, my wallpaper there. Yes, we test in production, by the way. And the whole thing is like, okay, the app is there. We throw to the wall. See you in 12 months. YOLO, right? That was the whole idea. But then we wanted to try again.
So now we had a bit of experience in making quickly these kind of apps. So we said, okay, let's try again, focus on a different market, different use cases. And this time we were using AI. We were already, but this time we are using a different kind of AI. We wanted to create AI that generates stories using a chat AI, stories that kids, parents can write, Yeah.
I didn't see the video.
Exactly, that's new. That's new. So basically, the idea was that parents they could generate short stories to read to their kids. So we don't want the kids to use the phone now. Still interaction between parents and kids, but basically the idea is that the app could suggest suggest and generate these kind of stories. Something that we did different compared to the previous one was to actually check with some real users, like somebody that have kids, some friends that have like different families, different situation, kids at different age, and we were able to get a lot of valuable feedback. This was very, very useful because it allowed us to prioritize some features. So we discovered that, for example, up to a certain age, okay, kids are fine listening to different story every night, while at another period, they prefer to have stability. So okay, it's good to have generated stories, but they want to listen to the same one over and over and over. So we created new features for that, like ability to save stories, ability to generate once, to toggle some of the settings to generate the story. It was really helpful. And this is actually one good takeaway that you can find in a lot of literature about indie projects, which is first understand your target, your market, and get early feedback so that you can steer the development of your app while it's still early. And we shipped it again. So as you can see, of course, everything AI generated, both Play Store description, the icon, the title, we chose it, and again, working beautifully on large screens.
So, why am I the number guy? I mean, okay.
Because you're using more Excel than
yeah, fair enough. So, organic growth. So, we launched in June, and in August, we had about 100 users. So, it was a soft launch because it's a super tiny niche. So it was okay, but it was not impressive. And then I came again to the rest of the team, and I was like, let's throw some more money at Google because, I mean, Sundar, right? I mean, he needs bonuses and things. So we throw another $100. So we launch another campaign, or we prepare another campaign, and we see improvements as usual. But this time we approached the campaign in a slightly different way because I found this person that I have on Twitter, and they do marketing and growth, and they had a thread. They were discussing, tricks to optimize a campaign. A few things we were already doing, but one of the suggestions they had was forget about what Google suggests about increasing the budget. What you should be doing is increase by 20% every day. So stick to that. And I mean, we tried, right? So the idea was like, just go, wait 24 hours, increase by 20%. And we started with, the usual $12, and then we increased and increased. And the campaign was longer, as you will imagine. So the budget lasted it was about 1 week or something. And this is how it looks at the moment. So as you can see, there is a sharp step. The moment you start running ads, it just get a lot of users. We got like 1,100 users, something like that. But then you can see the slope, right? So something that we learned was a very hard and harsh lesson. It was, that's basically it. So the more you throw money at it, the better. So that was the one. So if you want a lot of users, Google Ads is incredibly good. It's gonna give you, it's insane. It's gonna reach out a lot of people, and you get a lot of installs. So if your goal is to have a lot of installs that you go to show people, that works.
It's It's almost like Google knows how to do ads.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, go figure, right? And yeah, but again, we wanted to try again, so now.
Now we went to another topic, and for this one, it's still a work in progress, so we just have some design to show you. But the idea is to create, so we have been training this scientifically accurate horoscope machine learning model, so we can generate the most accurate and scientifically correct, of course, horoscope every day.
We're burning forest.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to give you an horoscope.
Just to give you an horoscope. But yeah, the idea is to try something different and also something that could engage the user every day, believe it or not. But anyway, there are. This is the idea. We're gonna build this application, and we have been more and more efficient in doing so. Let's say. Okay.
Is it me?
It's good.
What? Okay. So the yes. Okay. Growth. So we are like $200 underwater. Okay. So this is not fun. I mean, it's fun, but not. So one thing that we want to do better in this campaign is actually target differently from a geographical and demographic point of view our users. So instead of just going to Google and say, oh, this is some money, just bring me users, that they then fade out very quickly, we want to try to get maybe fewer users that they stay a bit longer in the app. So the idea is like, you just need, because one of the money strategy is also different. So we don't have only ads. I don't want to spoil you, but the idea is that we want better users, or fewer but more focused users.
More selected.
Yeah, more selected user. Better sounds way. Yeah, it was weird. So yeah, that's one of the things that we are gonna experiment with.
Okay, so something that we did. So we did the 2 apps and alpha because we are developing one of it. But something that we want to do is to create some sort of framework that allows us to create more applications once we have new ideas in the future. And something that we did was to actually use a similar infrastructure. So we are using, of course, GitHub for the repo. We use pull requests to collaborate, because it's not just the 3 of us. Like we are the ones that could be here today, but it's a group of friends we are working with. Firebase was very good for quickly prototype, for Firebase functions, continuous integration, and of course the integration with the Play services to manage releases and all these kind of things, and analytics, of course. But then, how did we get money out of those apps?
Yes, we talk about how we spend a lot of money to try to retrieve some users, but let's talk also how we can get some money from this idea. And basically, we added ads inside the application. So first of all, since we want to be GDPR compliant, we asked users to give their consent to share their data. Otherwise, there are problems, at least in Europe. After that, we decide which kind of ads we want to show. So since we don't want to annoy too much the users, we prefer to use a banner ad that we can put on the bottom part of the application, so the user can see the screen and we have this banner on the bottom. After that, we want to experiment with the ads. So we thought, why we cannot introduce native ad? Because we have a screen that can be scrollable, and so we try to blend these new ads inside the content that we provide. And so we try to mix the ads inside the wallpaper. After that, we decide to give another try with ads, and we introduce the interstitial. With the interstitial, it was very interesting because according to AdMob guidelines, you should show interstitial after the user had some interaction with the application. But of course, you cannot show an interstitial on every action. So we had a parameter that is on Firebase, and we can tune how much action the user need to take before see an interstitial, also because we don't want to annoy them. Okay. From the slide, you can see that
Throwing Aurelio under the bus.
yeah, that how the experiment goes, but not so well, because after the huge amount of user that the Google bring in using the campaign, we see a lot of drop of all of them basically decide to not use the application, so we lose a lot of money in impression, of course, and also in the other application. As you can see, for the wallpapers application, we earn about €8. Huge.
Out of 100 of
yeah.
campaign.
Yeah.
Thank you for the support.
Instead, for the bedtime stories, we learn €5.
We recovered,
solid.
we recovered 5% of the costs.
Yeah.
No, not steady.
No. Okay, and that's about our experience with retrieving money from application.
So yeah, we have new ideas for the future for the AI generated horoscope application. For example, we want to experiment not only with ads, but also maybe proposing a pro version so that okay, user can avoid having the ads, but have even more scientifically accurate data. So they could have like a longer description, so they could be ready for their day every morning. They could have AI generated images every. I haven't said AI in a while, so they can have AI generated images every day and all these kind of things. So honestly, as you can imagine from our seriousness, those are experiments that we are doing also to learn with these about these technologies. So in this case, why not subscriptions? But something that we are also trying is to keep user engaged. So let's say all of these apps, we create them with the idea that, okay, we want to do something that ideally the user should be interested in coming back, being for creating more stories for their kids or to change for a new wallpaper or to know what they are waiting, what their day is gonna be exactly. Thanks for the AI created horoscope. So one idea is to use, well, what we did is to use notifications. So try to ping the user to say, hey, there is new content that you want to check out. Hey, what about if you create a new story today instead of reusing the saved one, and these kind of things. So thanks to the infrastructure that we had before, we already had all the Firebase functions, all the integrations, so we could centralize the logic to these things in a single way. And we were also able to reuse some of the UI components. So for example, we already saw the consent screen that Aurelio showed for user data, some section of the app, for example, the top bar, the bottom bar with the banners, and also the settings, why not? I mean, in the end, for a basic application like this, you don't need too much. And it's also not worth recreating every time the wheel. So something that we started using is a great feature from GitHub, which is basically the ability of creating template repository. These are repositories as similar as the one that you're used for any other project. So you can attach a CI, you can use PRs to contribute to this template. But you also have, I don't know if you can read it, that green button that basically allowed you directly from the GitHub page to fork that template and create a brand new project. So we have this template that we are keeping updating as soon as we find some new architectural component, new dependencies, or something that we can find useful for next projects. and we are keeping it as much updated as possible so that we are already starting with a good skeleton, which we can easily refactor on what the new idea will require.
So to wrap up and have some question time, because maybe people want to throw some joke at us. So how did it go? We learned a lot. We learned that user acquisition is kind of easy if you have a budget, if it's a tiny budget. If you have a group of friends, you can build things and throw them to the wall, and maybe something is gonna stick, and then you have another, income stream and a passive income stream or whatever. We now are learning about running campaigns, so there is also that. We are also looking at numbers, so we know how to do analytics a bit, because now you understand why people are not using it. Analytics was very instrumental to understand that we weren't tracking notification properly, because we were like, why people are not clicking on the notification, right? I mean, why? And then we realized that, well, we were not doing it correctly, and the notification wasn't showing, and these things. So you start looking at the numbers. So you have to imagine that we do this like in the evening for like half an hour every now and then. Every one of us is doing a bit. It's a very chaotic, good environment.
It's collaborative.
Yes, so there is no pressure. It's more like, oh yeah, we should fix this. I don't have time. Oh no, I can do this. Oh, can you replace? So it was a very, very nice experience, and it is super nice. But again, it's also giving us opportunity to learn a lot about infrastructure. For instance, I never used functions to run the notification on Android. What turns out is like this. It's like 5 lines. You just throw it to Firebase, and now you can run notification daily in your app. So all this is a very useful experiment. It's a learning experiment.